In this end of season People and Performance podcast special, I review highlights of season 3 episodes and offer you a sneak peek of what to expect from season 4. Hello, this is Bill Banham, host of such shows as the HR Chat podcast, the founder and editor over at HR Gazette, and co-host of the People and Performance podcast, along with the fabulous Christopher Bjorling. As we wrap up our third season of the pod, Chris and I sat down for this particular episode, and what we've done is we've split it into two. Okay, so in this part that you're listening to right now, you're gonna hear me go on for a bit about my take on lessons shared from such guests as Najeeb Ahmad, founder and principal over at Pennington Human Dynamics, Erika Broadwater, national president at the NAAAHR, and Steve Browne, a former member of the Society for Human Resource Management, that's SHRM, board directors, and possibly the nicest, loveliest guy you'll ever meet in the world of HR. I'll also tell you just a little bit about season 4, what one can expect from season 4, which is going to include guests from NASA, OSL Retail Services, the Canadian Centre for Diversity and Inclusion, and the Academy to Innovate HR. So if you enjoy all of that, check out the other part of this conversation where Chris does most of the talking, so you don't have to listen to me that time around. And Chris is going to take the other angle, which is, okay, these are the lessons that we've learned from season 3. He's really going to delve into what he sees coming up in terms of trends and what's going to change in the world of work, and specifically in the world of workforce planning over the course of the next 3 to 6 months. So that's going to be a really interesting conversation. And that's going to be published on the HR Chat pod feed. So there'll be links in the show notes here. And please do check that one out as well. So without further ado, here's my take on some of the highlights of season 3 and some things to look forward to in season 4. So I had a lot of fun recording season 3 of the People and Performance podcast, which was generally focused on development planning, career development, leadership development, and succession planning, although we did also cover many different areas beyond that. So let's now just take a wee bit of time, and I'd like to highlight some of the amazing episodes from this series and talk a bit about the guests who were featured and some of the issues that we discussed with them. First off, we kicked off the season by chatting with the awesome president over at the National Association of African Americans in Human Resources, or the NAAAHR, and that's Erika Broadwater. She's also manager COE at SHRM. Erika has nearly 3 decades of experience in HR as head of talent acquisition, recruiting manager, and diversity and inclusion champion. And she's an experienced person in the global talent workforce, talent mobility, retention, data analytics, recruitment operations, performance management, and much, much more. She's also the employer attractiveness and talent acquisition leader over at SOT. So lots and lots of amazing experience. In addition, Erika was listed in the 2021 Human Resource Executive and HR Technology Conference Top 100 HR Tech Influencers list, which recognizes individuals impacting the state and future direction of HR tech. In that particular interview, you and I, we chatted to her about things like the fact that she's obtained at least 9 professional certifications, including one as a diversity and inclusion trainer. And we asked, why is ongoing accredited professional development so important? The NAAAHR is a big supporter of career coaching. So we also spoke to her a wee bit about, in her experience, had she had a career coach or a mentor who inspired her? And if so, what lessons had she taken from them, which maybe she tries to employ at the NAAAHR and at SOT? We spoke to her too about the role of AI in recruiting. AI is helping to find the best candidates based on skills and values, but what are the risks associated with the unconscious biases of tech creators? Does that really exist? If so, what does it look like? Can maybe share some examples around that, and also talk about the ways that AI is making a positive impact. In episode 2 was a guy that I really admire. I've had an opportunity to chat with him previously, and that's Perry Timms, who's the founder of People and Transformational HR Limited over in my motherland, the UK. Perry is also the author of the book Transformational HR, and he's been listed as one of the most influential HR executives by world-renowned organizations. And he's a global TEDx speaker and advisor on the future of work and human resources. And in that particular interview, you and I, we considered such questions as the fact that Perry has spoken before about cultural change not being a programmable thing, and that it's not possible just to upload a new version. So we asked him, can you share why corporate culture overhaul is so difficult to do, and why in many instances it's still necessary? We also spoke about ways that HR can play a role in developing a more compassionate and inclusive office environment and company culture. We chatted about the importance of having a common language between colleagues and between clients and suppliers too. And, and we delved into ways that HR and leaders can learn from the information that companies can gather from customers, how we can apply customer-centric data-powered attraction lessons to the world of work. And then in episode 3, we really jumped into this thing that's going on. That's been going on for a while. It's kind of ubiquitous. It's certainly in most of the conversations that come up between you and I and those guests that we have on the podcast. And that's the Great Resignation, of course. So in this particular episode, which was with Dr. Spencer Niles, who's professor of counselor education and co-director of the Thrive Research and Intervention Center at the William and Mary School of Education in Williamsburg, Virginia. We focused on the tools and resources needed to ensure that there are successful L&D initiatives, and then how that could play into retaining your best employees. Because ideally we want to keep the people that we have, which is no mean feat right now, given that there are such huge numbers of folk resigning every month. So in that interview, we spoke a bit about what is the case for learning new skills, how can it open up new possibilities for job seekers, what are some of the opportunities available to employees and employers if they get their career guidance and L&D efforts right, how far can transferable skills get you in career transition. We've seen over the last couple of years, Chris, lots of people wanting to hone in on particular things that they enjoy, maybe enhance particular skills and jump into new types of roles which allow for that. Companies are desperate right now, of course, to retain top talent. So we spoke with Niles about how can providing avenues to upskill and transform into new roles ensure that employers, keep their best people. If you're able to offer your best people the opportunity to transition into new roles, which give more attention to those skills, to those interests of those employees, then you're much more likely to keep them because they're going to be happier, right? I'm delighted to say that this season also featured somewhat of a hero of mine, someone who I think talks a lot of sense. He's an inspiring guy, and that's Stephen Chudletsky, who's the founder, speaker, and coach with Shed Inspires. He's also worked as one of the inspiring igniters at Simon Sinek's Start With Why team. Stephen engages with people in meaningful ways so that we can all connect with depth and live in a more fulfilled world. I'd very much urge listeners to check out books written by Simon Sinek if they haven't already done so. In that particular interview, we considered such questions as, what are the characteristics of a great leader who can maintain and nurture high-performing and happy teams? We spoke about what does Stephen believe that employees value the most from their employer in this new normal. Values have changed. What's considered acceptable by employees has changed, of course, since the start of the pandemic. Stephen offered advice around communicating change to employees. There are certain ways that leaders should try and communicate, and as part of that, they should be showing the why of the business, always relating back to the why of the business and being more authentic. And finally, we consider the fact that in a newly renovated workplace culture, leaders must determine what desired behaviors will best support a particular company's purpose, that why again. And so Stephen shared his thoughts on how they can determine what those behaviors should be and how do they reinforce them. In another episode in season 3, we kind of extended upon the conversation with Stephen Shadletsky in some ways by really delving into what the characteristics of a great leader are. And that particular episode was with Steve Browne, who's the chief people officer at La Rosa's Inc., which is a regional pizzeria restaurant chain in Southwest Ohio. By the way, until recently, Stephen was a key member, a very well known member of the SHRM board of directors. That's the Society for Human Resource Management. Steve also facilitates a monthly HR roundtable in Cincinnati. He manages a weekly internet forum, HRNet, that reaches tens of thousands of HR pros around the world, and he has an internationally recognized HR blog. Oh, plus he's the author of 2 best-selling books, HR on Purpose and HR Rising. And I think Steve's most active on Twitter, so you should definitely connect with him there. In that particular episode, we spoke about things like how has measuring performance changed as a result of shifts caused by the pandemic? How has tech evolved to help HR leaders better manage their people? What does Steve believe employees value the most from their employer in this new normal? What advice would Steve have for business leaders when it comes to communicating change to employees? And a whole bunch more. I'm pleased to say that I got the opportunity in season 3 to chat with Najeeb Ahmad. Najeeb is founder and principal of Pennington Human Dynamics, which is an international organizational effectiveness consulting firm dedicated to improving organizational performance and capability through the power of leaders, teams, and organizational climate change. Great term. So Najeeb is an experienced leadership consultant, coach, and leader whose career has spanned over 25 years across various industries, business transformations, and geographies. And we spoke about lots of different things, including we asked him, can you tell us about how your team optimization process accelerates senior team performance by integrating team and leader assessments with development planning, executive coaching, and real world application to drive and reinforce new team dynamics and practices? We also asked him about a session that he presented back in December 2021 at the Future of Employee Experience. FX is the event, called "Organizational Climate Change is Real. What's Causing It?" And we asked him if he could delve into how using the Pennington Leader Spotlight 360 assessment, leading indicator, and other tools, he and his team deliver actionable insights about the capability, motivation, and readiness of current and prospective leaders to excel. So to summarize, then, another season, another set of amazing guest experts, fantastic conversations, lots of learnings, and plenty of fun along the way. And I'm very much looking forward to season 4. Season 4 promises more of the same, really more fantastic experts, more, I believe, really useful content being shared with our listeners. So just to give them a little sneak peek of what to expect in terms of guests and topics, this season is largely focused on learning management and training and development. And we've got guests such as Gary Ware, who is from a company called Breakthrough Play. Gary is a self-proclaimed creativity catalyst, helping people reach their potential using the power of play. So it's really quite an uplifting episode in many ways. He's also a TEDx speaker, facilitator, and coach. We chat with Hassan Faruqi, who's over at OSL Retail Services up in beautiful Canada. And Hassan talks about what performance looks like in the retail industry today and how has measuring and developing retail sector employees changed during the pandemic and beyond. Another fine Canadian who joins us on the pod in season 4 will be Michael Back, and he's over at the Canadian Centre for Diversity and Inclusion, the CCDI. And Michael talks about things such as what it means to be truly inclusive in your efforts to engage employees and communities. Alex Tosevich, who is the L&D expert over at the Academy to Innovate HR. Fantastic organization, amazing courses, amazing content. You should totally check them out, listeners. He will join us to discuss how companies can shift their L&D strategy to one that's fully digital. Finally, we can do this. It's 2022. Barbara Singer, CEO at Executive Core, joins us on the pod in season 4 to focus on ways that leaders can cut through the noise to scale high-performing teams in faster ways. So that's going to be a terribly practical and helpful episode, I'm sure. And I'm absolutely delighted to say that season 4 will feature Dr. Benjamin Slade, lead Langley Workforce Planning, Development and Analytics Office over at NASA. And Ben's responsibilities include business performance management, strategic workforce planning, data-driven program analysis, and predictive forecasting, including attrition modeling. In that chat, we're going to talk about things such as, what does it mean when you really truly engage with your employer brand? I mean, NASA's a fantastic example. Who wouldn't want to work at NASA, right? And what that can mean for collaboration efforts and levels of productivity. Ben will also talk about ways to collaborate with external partners in order to grow one's data sets and to better understand people analytics data points. And Ben will share why he believes that investment in people analytics technology doesn't actually have to break the bank in order to achieve the results that a company needs. So there's just a wee insight, Chris, into what to expect from season 4. I'm super excited for it. It's coming very soon, listeners, and we can't wait to be back. This podcast is supported by Fidello Inc., a consulting firm specializing in improving human performance. Through their products and services, Fidello helps clients design, develop, and implement strategic integrated human resource processes and systems. Learn more at fidello.com. That's FIDELLO.com.